Mr. Speaker.
Alfred Ngaro.
Thank you. I appreciate the support. Mr. Speaker, in our Pacifica languages, the Pacific Parliamentary Forum that are here, talofa lava, whakalofalahi kia tolomos, nisam puli vinaka, kamna Māori, namaste, and in bonjour, g'day, and in the heavenly language, kirana tātou katoa tōra mātua tētoa. It's a great thing to be here today because this marks the second time in the whole of Parliament's history where Parliament in all its business and all its dealings has stopped to take a moment to be mindful of those things that are Pacific. And the motion that was moved was talking about the partnership, the linkages that we've had both in the present but also in the past and potentially what we will have into the future. This Pacific Parliamentary Forum was an idea that was formed and thought about many times over, different leaders, and I'm sure there's going to be mention of some of those leaders that talked about it, thought about it, but I want to acknowledge that in 2009, 2010, the Foreign Affairs and Defence Trade Committee, Select Committee, put together a report and talked about the importance that there should be a dialogue that happens. We have the Pacific Island Leaders Forum, where all the leaders of the nation come together, but what we need is also a deepening of that understanding of those issues with other parliamentarians that exist in the Pacific. And hence began in 2010 the idea to form that we should fund this, we should create this dialogue, and in 2013 we had the first such forum here in New Zealand as well. 70 members from throughout the Pacific were here. I want to acknowledge the 41 members that are here today, representing 15 different nations. You play an important role because your presence, your thoughtfulness and your expertise that you bring is absolutely important. I want to say to you, this is not a one-way conversation or a dialogue where you've come to hear, to look, to learn and to listen for yourselves. This is all also about us. The intent of this Pacific Forum was that we would share collectively together. I want to remind you about the fact that I shared a story at the Auckland Art Gallery at our dinner where I talked about what my grandmother said and how she said we were not born to live in swimming pools. We were not born to exist in small places where Pacific was just for Pacific. Instead, we were out for the ocean. Our sense of who we are, what we contribute, is for all peoples. It is for all peoples. I want to reiterate that. That's who we are. And if we sell ourselves short, if we think that we are only for Kiribati, Nauru, Fiji, Vanuatu, Samoa, the Cook Islands, and instead, what our tūpuna had destined for us is that we would not only be a blessing to our nations, but to all nations. To all nations. So can I put that challenge out to you first and foremost? Yesterday, last night in this house, many of you were present, where we reenacted over 100 years ago, where 45 Cook Island men came over here, young men, because they were taking up the call to serve Queen and country. And in that reenactment, we talked about how that Papa Tepuawe, whose father, who at the tender age of 18, 19, came along and sat in and stood over here, and he was also to not only karanga, but there was a mihi from Tau Henare, the great-grandfather of Pene Henare. And what a moment was where the two of them came together and they began to meet tūpuna to tūpuna and talked about the importance of that. And in their place was significant. And when we talk about those linkages, as I was researching, I thought about our linkages to the Pacific. You see, while we reminisce about the importance where with Samoa, it was, we had a friendship treaty. With the Cook Islands, Niue, and with the islands of Tukalao, we are nations of the realm. In fact, inside of our national anthem, it talks about the triple star, protecting our Pacific star, triple star, and those are the nations of the realm. There are different relationships, but still New Zealand for a while struggled to understand that. Can I say that as I read through, I want to acknowledge again Pene Henare's grandfather, Sir James Henare, and this is what he quoted and he said, "It must listen to the north wind blowing from the great Hawaii, the wind that brought Māori to Aotearoa." And the reason why that's significant is this, is because your presence here is also about bringing us your wisdom, your understanding, where you come from, the things that you have struggled with. So when we debate tomorrow in this house about the issues of climate change, Pacific resources and fisheries, when we talk about governance, come with all that you have, all that you are, because that's what this place demands. That's what our tūpuna demands of us. Don't sell them short and don't sell yourself short, and neither should we, because that's what we're here for. We're here to make a difference. We're here to be able to do that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just say this, that the importance of the messages that we give not only today in this house, but also tomorrow when we begin to put together resolutions are resounding enough to hopefully go back not only to our nations, but they should be resounding enough so they go back into the Pacific Island Leaders Forum. That's the intent of this forum. So we are to debate the issues, put around the issues that are of importance to us. So on our journey, can I just say that, isn't it wonderful that we had the little bit of the tiki tour in the vans? I think we had the best van, our van. We did. We tiki toured around, and I'm going to know the Dr. Puakina Borum was up there. I know the beautiful Alofa, who was over there, who almost everywhere we went, she said, I'm meeting family everywhere. I threatened her. I said, I'm going to tell the Consulate General, I think you just came here to meet your family rather than to do the business of Parliament. But isn't it wonderful? Because that's Pacific humour. That's Polynesian humour. We laugh together, we cry together, but we also work hard together. So what did we do in our travels? We went to Becca, for instance. We talked about the importance of the role of MFAT in ensuring that some of the development issues around climate change was being developed. We saw the work that they were doing around the coastal engineering that was important to those issues. And here's what Becca said to us. You need to tell us how we need to do our job better. You need to let us know what we need to be informed about so that we can make a difference. Those are the things that are great. We went to Unitech. We saw vocational training. And that's where my good friend from the Marshall Islands, Sherwood, stood up and listened when he heard around the apprenticeship schemes for Māori and Pacific and talked about what they were doing to make a difference there, where a young man called Kamoka Pati could stand up, who was at a crossroads in his life, and now he received the award over a month ago in here as being one of the top vocational trainings for not only for Pacific, but for mainstream. And he talked about what he was doing for our Pacific and making a difference. Sherwood turned around and said, that will make a difference for us. Why? Because there is an emerging social issue back in the Pacific that we need to have those sorts of supports, that sense of understanding to benefit us as well. We went to the whānau, West Whānau, which is now the whānau, where Tavita Whanaki was talking about dealing with all sorts of issues, whether it be NCDs, rheumatic fever, all of these. But here's the difference. It was a Pacific provider with Pacific practitioners, health practitioners, making a difference for our Pacific people. And that's something we've got to be proud of. Why? Because it shows that what we can do to develop. When we asked about the demographics, they said there's not only Pacific, but also other mainstreams. Well, they actually said they had a lot more Samoans that were there, okay? And that's great because they're serving our population, they're serving our Pacific people, truly making a difference. It's something that we could absolutely be proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, we are more than just comedians. We are more than just the show people who play songs and sing well. Guess what? And also do sports. In fact, we're so good we can even do that at the same time, as well as doing the business to make a difference. That's right. We can even be journalists and come to this house and make a difference. We can even be journalists and make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a day where, for us, we should be proud. When we talk about prosperity, and I know that Sura and I and Jenny Salesa, we were at a panel and young people got up and talked to us about, is it affordable to be able to have a house and have a home in Okalani, in New Zealand even? But here's the question that I reframed. That's right, they said no. But here's what I said. Here's the bigger question. Here's the most important question though. Who's defining prosperity for us? Who's defining prosperity for us? Because you know what? From another worldview, prosperity is the house, the home, the batch, the boat, and everything else that goes with it. I told the story about the fact is that when I grew up, we used to do a thing called fundraising, and here's what it was, bring and buy. So my mum and dad used to go along and we'd buy the food from the supermarket, we'd come home, we'd make the food, the chop suey, the taro, the mayonnaise, the poke. We'd go down to the church hall, we'd pack it up and put it in plates, and guess what? We'd sell it back to ourselves. Now, what sort of fundraiser is that? It didn't matter. Because you know why? Because there was enough for us to buy the hall, to develop the church, to do the things that we were important. And why? Because that's part of our social construct. Can I say this? Don't let anyone else define what prosperity is for us. We should define it. And guess what? It's not an either or. You don't have to be Western to be successful. You can be both Pacific, Polynesian, and you can have the best of the West that's in there and make a difference to us. That's what we should do. We define it. We define what prosperity is to us as well. And we don't let anyone take that away from us. Can I say this in my last few seconds? That we are the ones that make a difference. If we want to make our people proud, stand up for what's important to us. Let our young people see that we have a vision for prosperity because we define it. That's what our people brought us here today. Kia rana, I kia manuia.